Are you tired of that tiny spring jumping away from the 10th time? Or are you tired of constantly losing watch parts? Well, look no further, because this is your sign and video on how to dress your watchmaking tweezers perfectly. Welcome back, watchbangers, to the Berlin Time channel. It is 10:30, and I don't care if you're a returning subscriber or a wandering soul of the watchmaking community. This video will be all about making your tweezer look great and also make it function perfectly. What can you expect from the video? Well, I'll start with a theoretical approach where I talk about when do we need to dress tweezers, why do we need to dress them, and how do we dress them, talking about different techniques and tools you can use to make your tweezers good again. Then, in the second part of the video, I'll talk about practical sharpening, which will probably interest the most of you. Here, I have 3 examples of damaged tweezers that I have, and I'll use one of them as a model example and use it as a step-by-step tutorial on how I would use the above-mentioned techniques and tools to dress my tweezer. Finally, I'll talk about the testing of the dressing you've done. How can you test the sharpness and dressing and quality of the tweezer that you've just finished working on? That being said, let's jump right into the theory. Now, tweezers are the extension of the watchmaker when working on the watch. Since we're not allowed to touch, watch components with fingers, for example, we should use tweezers instead. Now, there's many different kinds of tweezers depending on the part and the occasion. There's brass tweezers, steel tweezers, wood tweezers, plastic tweezers. The list goes on and on. I actually Googled the product PDF of one of the brand manufacturers, and they have a 66-page long document. So I think that just says enough about how many different kinds of tweezers there are. Now, when you dress tweezers, I usually dress tweezers when I notice that the tweezers is a bit damaged. So I notice that there's some performance loss, or some parts just jump away a bit more often, or I just find that my tweezer looks a bit ugly and I just want it to look nice again. Hand in hand with that, the goal of tweezer dressing is, to have the proper handling of watch parts and to be able to convey what you want to do over the tweezer into the watch, and with that, reducing any damage or loss that might occur. And of course, making your tweezer look nice again. Now, what do you need? You need the aforementioned tweezer, some sort of abrasive stone to do the heavy work, and at the end, some cleaning utensils to clean your workspace and the sharpened tweezer. Now, coming to the actual theoretical method of how to dress a tweezer, I identified 3 different categories with which you can split up the steps when dressing the tweezers. Now, the first step is the shaping step. This is where you get the rough cut of the tweezer's shape you have in mind. Then we have the refining stage, where we just improve upon the rough cut of the shaping stage, adding a few new angles and radiuses. In the last renewal stage, we touch upon the gripping surface of the tweezer's inner side, since this is one of the most important surfaces, and these usually don't need any rough cutting, but as I said, a renewal of the surface. Now, using this step-by-step approach, I'll try and sharpen the tweezers I have in mind. That's the number 3, the number 4, and the number 2 brass tweezer. To all vegans and vegetarians, you can now close the tab, since this video is not appropriate anymore. Now, jokes aside, these 3 tweezers are the ones I really want to sharpen. They do have a nice sound, but if we take a close-up look in a second, they are disgusting. Now, for my tools, I'll open this little drawer here on my watchmaking table. I have an oil stone from Bole and an Arkansas stone for a bit more finer work, such as polishing surfaces. And I'll close the drawer as well. And yeah, so the oil stone, the grinding stone, comes in a really neat little packaging where you can have a little window on the side and you can see the 2 different grits. I'm not sure what grit number they are exactly. I just know one's coarse and one's one's a less aggressive. But yeah, I've been using this for 2 years. It's worked always. And then of course the Arkansas stone. This is super fine, and yeah, just for polishing and refining stuff here. Now, let's look at the number 3 tweezer. This is the one I'll use as a model example. If you take a closer look, you can see there's some heat discoloration at the front, and I want to get rid of that. And otherwise, the form is pretty nice, so I'll just do a retouching of that on every side, so that you guys can see in the model. The tips are all balanced, the angles are nice, the radius is nice. So yeah, this is a good example to get started. We start with step 1, which is shaping and the basic shape creation. Here, we will first look at the sides. The red arrows are the grinding movement as a little recommendation. So you place your tweezer down flat on the grinding stone, and then you'll do this back and forwards motion, which I just showed. I like having a little radius in the movement, since it will help in the refining stage later. But you guys can do it however you want. So you place it down flat, and then you'll just move the... Oh, it's not focusing. so flat, and you'll move the tweezer back and forth. I just like doing it back because it's more controlled. And then after a few times, you obviously have to check if your work is good. So you just take it off and see. If you see 2 white lines, you're doing everything correctly, and you can continue doing this to make your tweezers as pointy as you want. The second step is the tip rounding, where you can basically do the same movement with a just more exaggerated turn or radius at the end, so that you can basically grind away more at the front and also let both radiuses meet if you flip around the tweezer and grind there as well. Place the tweezer onto your grinding stone and pull back with the upwards motion at the end so that you can grind a curve into the tip of the tweezer. Obviously, you also have to turn the tweezer around and do it on the other side so that the curve extends around the whole length of the tweezer tip. When we look at the tweezer now from the front, you can see that the tip also has a slight light reflection, meaning that it's rounded. To balance out any imperfections which may have occurred when grinding, we'll have to take care of the tip's trueness. To make your tip true, you'll just have to move the tweezer in a 90-degree angle to the grinding stone back and forth to make sure that the tweezer's tip is completely flat and is the same length. Some people like doing this before the curve, some people like it doing after the roundness of the tweezers. You guys can decide. I like doing it after I've rounded the tips of my tweezers. In the case of my tweezer, I have a slight imbalance of the length. You can see that the right tweezer half is a bit more in front of the left tweezer half, visualized by these 2 lines here. Now this is a problem because if your tweezer is not completely parallel, it will strongly impact your ability to handle and safely control springs, watch components, and if they're not the same, the chance of the risk of something flinging away or jumping away or falling away is much higher than when it's perfect. Take your tweezer and put it into a 90-degree angle with the grinding stone in both directions. And then you'll just gently move it back and forth. Make sure to keep your hand steady. And just grind away a bit, only a bit, it doesn't have to be a lot, in the front, and just recheck it under the loop or your eye or the microscope. Now I'm pretty satisfied. If I look from here, it looks like the tips are touching each other, which is always a good sign. And then we can just move on to the next part. Here we have a little conclusion picture of the first step of the shaping part. You can see that the sides have an even and parallel grind. The tips have the same length. And you can also see that the tips are rounded at the front. Moving on to part 2. Part 2 is refining. So this is the part where we'll add a slope and a radius to make the tweezer just look a bit more sleek and professional. First, we'll look at the slope. Here, the movement is that you place the tweezer down with the face up or down and give it a forwards and backwards motion while lifting up at the end, giving the face of the grinded surface a curve on the tip. This added slope is not essential for the tweezer, but it is highly recommended because it just makes the tweezer slimmer and allows you to have a better view on the part that you're working on. Additionally, it increases the accuracy of your tips, in my opinion. So as I said, you place the tweezer down with the face up or down, and you basically repeat the movement we did before, just pulling and pushing and lifting the tweezer up at the end. Personally, you can do it as strong as you want. Sometimes I don't even really lift it up. It really depends on what you prefer. And don't forget to flip over the tweezer. Now we come to the fourth thing we can do. This is the radius of the tweezer's tip and slope itself. To achieve this grind, you'll have to turn the tweezer away and to your body in a rounding motion while the slope is on the grinding stone. This grind allows your tweezer to look super professional and also allows you to get a better view on the component or watch that you're working on, as the tweezer material is less. Now the good thing on my tweezer is that we can check how we're doing this, since there is some heat discoloration at the front. And I'll try to get rid of all that here. So we'll just have to place the tweezer down really nicely. And this grind is a bit more tricky, in my opinion, but I believe that we and you can do this alone. So you place it down and you just turn it to your body. And since we can't do the whole length or the whole curve of the tweezer, you'll have to do this in 4 steps probably, so 2 per side. And don't forget to flip the tweezer. And yeah, but then obviously check. In my case, I can just see if the heat colors the heat colors are disappearing to see if my pressure and the grinding angle is correct. But yeah, in the end, it should look like this. It's nice and shiny. And as you can see, there's no color anymore on the sides, only on the inside, because obviously we haven't ground that yet, but we'll come to that just now. Finally, we come to the refinishing part of the video, step 3, which is basically all about refinishing the gripping surface of the tweezer, probably also one of the most important surfaces next to the tweezer length, in my opinion. And this is basically responsible for how well you grip your part. And obviously, you would want your tweezer surface to be as fine and as well polished as possible, because the more impurities the surface has, there's the higher the chance that you damage the part. So I do this with the Arkansas stone usually, because it just has a much higher grit, and you can just really concentrate on polishing the inside. And well, the higher polish it is, the less chance you'll have to scratch, I don't know, some nice perlage, for example. Now the actual motion is pretty simple. You just place the gripping surface down onto an abrasive and just move it in any direction you want. And personally, I would give a tip that you just keep one direction so that you don't have, many different scratch marks on your polished surface. Just keep it in one direction. Now, as we've seen before, we have the gripping surface temperature color left, and that'll be a good way to see if my grinding technique is going to be fine. So we will have to get all that color off. And the other side is looking pretty decent though. The focus is, there we go. I mean, there's no big real damage here. So I'll use the Arkansas stone. If there would be some big scratches, I would probably start with a more coarser grit. I think this is fine. And so I would, grind this over the side here. But since I don't have a space, I'll use some dynamic motion to move the camera and let the stone hang off the side of my bench. And then I can just open up my tweezers a bit and just put the tweezer, the grinded surface side onto the Arkansas stone and just grind it back and forth to get the preferred finish. And yeah, it's pretty crazy that you can see the grinding medium jump off the stone there. But as you can see, there is some improvement here. There's a small black shadow at the bottom there, but I think I'll keep that. And the other side, which I also did off camera, looks, I'll put some shadow on it. You can see the grinding motion, which I did. It's kind of like, it's not completely straight, but it doesn't look too bad. And obviously I didn't go super deep into the tweezer. The tip is usually fine. Like the first 1 or 2 centimeters is only what you need, since you don't really grip anything deeper than that. And yeah, that looks pretty decent. So with that, the model example is done. There's some dirt here. I think I'll clean this up after I do the 2 other tweezers, and the grinding stone does look pretty used. But yeah, that's it for the number 3 tweezer, and then we can just jump into number 4 and the brass one, which I'll just show as a time lapse. So the brass tweezer has just a pretty ugly shape in my opinion. You can see the sides are not parallel. There's no real tip. There's a bunch of bumps and curves, which I just want to even out. And the number 4 tweezer, maybe you can spot it, just has one tip missing. So we'll have to grind that down and make it sharp again. So with that, I'd say just start the time lapse. You guys can just skip to the testing part if you want. I'll just use this time to give some general tips. Now, in general, I'd say that just really strive to be perfect at this part, because even if it's just a simple tool, the more perfect you get it, the better it will perform, especially the gripping surface and the tweezer length. Just try to make sure that there's no additional surfaces in the gripping surface, for example, or if you're unsure about the tweezer length, just really make sure that it's perfect, because that will greatly impact on how you work and how often you lose parts and how much you get frustrated. Otherwise, this is just a thing of practice. I do this every other week. Sometimes I have a tweezer which lasts me for like half a year or a year, but I do feel guilty at some point. And I do notice an increase of parts, for example, jumping away. So that definitely is noticeable. But yeah, you just do it as often as you want. Sometimes I also have one designated like abused tweezer, which I'm not showing, which is just really used for the roughest stuff ever. Like I use it to open case backs. When I harden parts, for example, it's just getting abused in every sort of way. And yeah, otherwise it's super satisfying to see a tweezer like have a little glow up, in my opinion, especially if it's old tweezers or tweezers which are brass, for example. They get some color from the oxidation. And it's way nicer working with really nice tools, so it does kind of increase your stats in watchmaking, in my opinion. Now you can see that the workspace is getting super nasty, so we'll clean this up with a wet paper towel. There's some deeper stuff there which I had to scrub out a bit, and then we'll just dry the whole workspace off with a dry paper towel, because we don't want any water getting on watch components, because that is a big no-no. That'll just lead to rust. Okay, so we have our sharpened tweezers, and then we'll do the testing. And what I learned is that you take some really small component. For example, I like to use a shock protection spring. So we have a Nevo shock spring from the balance wheel here, and I'll just try to use my sharpened tweezer to pick them up and see how my tweezer performs. Now, it should work very simply. It shouldn't jump away. It shouldn't bend. You should just be able to pick up the spring without anything happening. And then you know that you did a good job, in my opinion. So that's number 4. That was nice. Oh no, the number 3. Now the number 4. Let's see. Oh, I mean, it's a bit magnetized, but I think with some static in there, but I think it should be fine because the spring didn't jump away when I applied pressure. Now that's done, and let's use the brass one. And these ones have a bit thicker tip, and see if it still works. There we go. Works perfectly. Now you can also do this with other components. I just like doing it with a shock protection spring because it's usually one of the smallest parts you have in the watch. And we have reached the end of the video, watch bangers. I hope you enjoyed watching me dress some tweezers. I hope that you guys learned something new, maybe, hopefully. I hope I can help you, or I helped you. And yeah, if you have any criticism, comments, wishes, hate, please put them in the comments down below. I gladly interact with the community. And yeah, I'm happy to have some nicely dressed tweezers again. I hope you'll definitely see some more of this later. And yeah, stay safe. See you next time, watch bangers, and thanks for watching the video. Bye bye.